And there's our floater. Come down here a little bit. So it's a beauty. It is a Weiss ring. It's not an entire ring. It's more like a C. So we'll call it a Weiss C. But it originally came off the optic nerve and then it kind of condensed a bit. So that's right where it is right now is where it typically wants to sit, which is where you see it probably, what, 20-30 degrees off to your left or so, which is probably typical where it sits. And so it's really pretty clear everywhere else. This is just a really well-defined, well-isolated floater. And so I have my red beams focusing on that, kind of jogging that back and forth and get both of those superimposed upon each other right there. And these things tend to be pretty well suspended in place, at least initially, until you start breaking some of the attachments. So this one really should be called a suspender, not so much a floater. It's a suspender, because it's suspended in position there. And the strategy with this is to kind of chew away at it from the end. So we'll go right to the end, right there. And that just opened it up there. We're going to watch it dance around here. So sometimes at first it just seems to just kind of dance. Kind of like in those movies where the cowboys are shooting at the other person's feet and they say dance. Well, right now it's just dancing. The nice thing about these is you can see them progressively get smaller as you treat. And the nice thing about working at the end of these things, kind of chewing away at it like a rat, is you tend to be able to keep track of the pieces so they don't get away from you too much, whereas if you just kept dividing and dividing and dividing it, you just have little pieces all over the place. So this is a nice as far as being able to monitor the progress and see it get smaller as we go here. And one of the things that happens with these is the laser energy starts kind of pushing a little bit further back, and I can see the energy is becoming a little weaker. So sometimes what we'll do is, not quite yet, but we'll have you move your eye a bit, and that tends to kind of push it, kind of jog it forward again into a little bit more treatable spot. But right now it's actually pretty good. And there's sort of the head of it right there. I only wish all my floaters looked like this. Make my life a lot easier. Okay, let's move this forward again. Let me have you look down. And back straight ahead again. And there it is. Yeah, that did move it forward. Makes a difference. So already it's maybe about half the length it was. It's starting to look a little sloppy, a little more raggedy. So I mostly get points for overall result, not neatness. Showing my work, but neatness doesn't count as much, I guess. Maybe look down again. And back to light here again. And there it is. Behaving very nicely, right where I'd want it to. One of the problems with video recording is with the camera setup, I have the microphone is sitting right next to the laser, so these little clicky, snappy things that we're hearing sound like you're blasting a photon cannon or something at it. It's a little daunting. That's already a lot better here. We're doing fine. Okay, look down again. Straight ahead here. These tend to photograph pretty well too, videotape pretty well. And I mean, you can take care of these things in 10 minutes. You get the bulk of it gone. And So I've had some people who've watched the videos and have not outright accused me, but said, well, how do we know you're not, messing with the video, or that you're not, I don't know, splicing, it's like, God, no good deed goes unpunished sometimes. So this, sometimes I'll just show the whole thing from front to beginning. No editing, no cuts, no chroma key, green screen, CGI effects. I mean, it's all just real raw footage, and you show that. And if someone's willing to sit for 10 minutes and watch the whole thing, I don't see how they couldn't watch that and then say, well, it was there and it's not now. So maybe it's not a perfect procedure, and maybe not all floaters can be treated, but at least if you can show that there are some floaters that can be absolutely obliterated, almost entirely right before your very eyes, that's pretty good evidence.
Okay.
We don't have to talk about lab values or enzyme levels or protein measurements or assays. I mean, you don't have to talk about genetic. I mean, it's just literally there's physical stuff that was physically visible that you could see, that was in a very consistently located position, that you saw it chewed up from one end to the other, and 10 minutes later or so it's essentially gone, and that is pretty hard to refute. So I'd say at this point we're like 95+% gone. Now I'm just, so I'm not firing as quickly. I'm trying to find pieces now. I'm really having trouble finding stuff. There's a little piece there. So these are little fragments that have kind of scattered off as they kind of broke off, and the energy sort of scattered them off there. It happened so quickly you don't see them. So you just methodically just scan and scan and scan and find what you can, and scan and scan, and eventually you just kind of run out of stuff. Maybe look to your far right this time and straight ahead. So we'll kind of go back to where it was before, bring it down here a little bit. So it was right in this area originally, and other than just some little ghost residual here. Okay, look down again. Up here straight. By the way, how are you doing?
Fine. Absolutely fine.
Because I haven't heard you screaming in pain or anything like that.
I'm no pain.
I'm going to presume that this has been a painless process for you.
Absolutely.
Okay. I just wanted to get that recorded. I knew you.
I'm not here drugged.
Yeah, exactly.
I think all anybody would have to do is just talk to the patient.
Yeah, that's true. Let's do that again. Look down again and straight ahead here again. So compared to our original here, that's pretty small. I'm not sure if that'll show up very well in the video, but now we're just, bring up the light a little bit. Sorry, no, that's bright. These things are very low contrast. They don't show up very well unless you increase the light. So now we're just, you can tell that these things are really quite microscopic little fragments compared to the original. Size-wise, well, there's the optic nerve here. The optic nerve, the diameter of that optic nerve is about 1.5 millimeters. And you back off into this space here, and some of these little things are 1/20 of a millimeter. Really very, very small. Many of these small little fragments that I was just chasing after there, many of those are so small they're not even going to cast they're too small to cast a visible shadow. So I just go after them just because I like to have a really clean end product here. But I think you could leave a lot of that stuff and you wouldn't even see it. Now if the lighting is just right, I'll try to do this here. This stuff here is, I'm kind of focused on, is a vitreous cortex. It's the outer sheet of the vitreous that has kind of pulled off and folded over on itself, and there's just these little semi-transparent little sheets. Generally, I'll leave those alone if I can, because to try to break those, and they don't absorb the energy very well. They tend not to really cast shadows very much, and this is more towards the front of the eye. So it's visible, and if somebody is watching this video saying, oh, well, what about all that stuff? I choose to leave that stuff alone unless, you know, we've decided that it's really bothersome. The key with you is to get the big stuff out of the way and then sort of stand back and say, okay, are you still having any symptoms? Are you still, you know, if you're seeing little specks and dots, then that would be something like this that we just get. If you're seeing more sort of mirage-like sheets, mobile sheets and stuff like that, well, then that might be some of that cortex I was just showing you, and then we decide whether we think it would be worthwhile trying to get that stuff. It typically doesn't respond as well to the laser. So I don't like to open up that Pandora's box so we don't have to. Look way down there, I saw a little speck there. There we go. That was hiding out. It almost looks more like a little calcification there. A little floater. That's kind of far peripheral, it's a little hard to get at there. Bring you up just a little bit there. Okay, right, there we go. And there's beautiful little bubbles. Look like little mercury blobs, and that's what you do. You break that stuff into it, and it vaporizes, turns to gas bubbles. And those gas bubbles will float up out of the way there, and eventually just reabsorb and dissolve. And they don't last longer than about 15-20 minutes or so. And they're gone. Huh. Well, I'm kind of running out of stuff here. I feel like I should just keep firing away in here to give you your money's worth, but I think I already did. And that floater, like we had discussed earlier, that main big floater there, that is a one-time thing. It is not coming back. It can't come back. Now, if there's some little scattered little remnants way out in the periphery that I can't see, I mean, that's possible that, you know, some of those might come back in. But again, we're talking about the tiny little fragments that we can just go back and get a second time if we need to. That is, I think, arguably one of the cleanest and quickest and treatments. It's the best type of floater and best type of treatment I could hope for. So, chew, you know, get chewed up, whatever, chewed up, chew, you know, get chewed up, whatever, chewed up.